And even the supposedly intellectual, even the so-called informed, are a very small percentage of people that actually read books or read the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or who watch Sunday news shows. It's the informed in this country that are even aware of the political process and know who the names are and who the players are, but that itself is a completely false projection and staged to an almost complete extent. So you've got people within these artificial envelopes, these artificial little bubble matrices, walled off from the real reality that the globalists write about in their own books, their own publications, foreign affairs. It's all there. How do I continually know what they're going to do next, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, decade in, decade out? Because they've told us what they're going to do, and they've done it over and over again in third world and old world countries that they had control of, so we know the exact formulae that they will slightly tweak with their anthropologists and sociologists and behaviorists for the particular country that they launch. We know the enemy profile. We know their modus operandi. We have assessed them. And you would think it's a weakness that they're so predictable, but see, their response is, hey, the public isn't even conscious. So what if you're awake? So what if you're aware? It's like being one awake person at a sports stadium of lobotomized children. You can't even communicate with them. You can't get them out of the trance. They don't even know what you're talking about. They're on the news today saying, who could have thought Greece would default? They're on the news saying, who could have thought ISIS would suddenly launch attacks in Africa and the Middle East and France? Terror attacks in France, Tunisia, and Kuwait. We have brutal footage and audio of this. I don't even know if I'm going to air it. Our listeners forget who exposed the fact that al-Qaeda was synthetic and completely run by Western intelligence on 9/11. Then I analyze the new al-Qaeda and the new Syrian state they were building in the last 4 or 5 years, giving Libya as a base to take down Africa to al-Qaeda, giving Syria part of it as a base to take down the Middle East. Western governments all financing it. We laid out exactly 4 years ago, exactly 3 years ago, exactly 2 years ago, exactly 1 year ago, exactly a month ago, over and over again, ad nauseum, that ISIS is a real terror threat, a multi-100,000 person army recruited and funded by the West with useful idiot bots who actually think they're fighting for, quote, Islam, that are going to be allowed to attack the entire Western world and the Middle East. They're meant to take over and conquer the Middle East and much of Africa as a proxy front for the globalists under Saudi Arabia and Turkey's control. Here, they're going to attack, be repulsed and defeated, but that'll be used for the next decade of expanded police state. Oh, Alex now says the Muslim threat's real, even though he said for all these years it was synthetic. It was always real, but it was manufactured. Now it's not manufactured, it's bred in a pen and turned loose. Like I said, if I go to my neighbor and put 3 rattlesnakes in his bed, I didn't bite my neighbor, but I'm an accomplice to it. I put the rattlesnakes in the bed. If I go dump 100 black widows in your bed and you go and get in there, I don't control the black widows. I just know what they're going to do. If I put you in a pen with 15 starving wolves, I don't run the wolves. They'd bite my hand too, but I control the environment and the paradigm. That's the new world order. That's what you face. They're going to kick, folks, they will shoot down jet airliners with missiles. And the media will sit there and never say they were giving them in the war against Syria, that in Libya, Benghazi. You heard it all here. And I'm not bragging. You can learn all this too. The mainstream media can learn it. But they're not really smart. They're not really informed, and they read off teleprompters. whether it's Fox or CNN or MSNBC, they get up there and they read off a teleprompter, they're given their talking points, and they go, gee, who could have imagined ISIS would have done this? Well, the West will do something now. The West? You mean the criminals that run our country? Who could have imagined? That's the headlines. I've got them here in the stack. No one could see the Greece crisis coming. No one. There have been 3 so-called bailouts of Greece that were really to the bankers that set this up. Almost all the debt in Greece, 90+% of it, is not the Greeks' own debt. Their government signed on in the EU deal, and part of the banker bailouts to sign on to all this. They've had massive tax increases, you name it. They're now going into free fall. They're meant to implode countries and have them leave the EU, and then they're going to form a new global union to, quote, stabilize the 3 unions. They always meant to create 3 unions to depress their sub-states, then out of that implosion, weld them all together as the fix. Now, how did I know this 20 years ago? Because I read Barry Goldwater's book. He was in the meetings. He exposed it. I read the statements of David Rockefeller. It's all planned. I read the opposition to it, and I read the people that were for it. If I was in a war, which I am, I would read the enemy's own documents. They're so arrogant, their battle plans are public. And they don't give us their battle plans because they're fake to throw us off, or there's disinfo in them, like the British, with their ultra system, let the Germans know. No, it's beyond that. They are so arrogant, they are operating uncloaked, attacking us at point-blank range. When we come back, inside the Greek crisis, the world is defenseless against the next financial crisis, warns BIS. Stay with us.